The sun was beginning its descent into the horizon, creating a warm golden glow over the beach where Vian and Tehim sat side by side. The gentle sound of the waves crashing against the shore provided a soothing backdrop to the heavy silence that hung between them. Vian couldn't bring herself to meet Taehyung's eyes, her heart heavy with the impending separation that loomed over them. She knew that tomorrow he would be leaving for a job opportunity in another country, and the thought of being apart from him filled her with a deep sense of unease. Taehyung sensed her turmoil and reached out to gently grasp her hand, his touch offering a small measure of comfort. Vian, he began softly, his voice tinged with sadness. I know this won't be easy, but I promise you, we can make this work. Our love is strong enough to withstand any distance. Van swallowed hard, trying to push back the tears that threatened to spill over. But what if it's not enough, Taehyung? She whispered, her voice trembling with doubt. What if we drift apart? What if what if we lose each other? Taehyung turned to look at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of love and determination. We won't lose each other, Ryan, he said firmly. I will do everything in my power to stay connected to you, no matter how far apart we are. We'll make time for each other, we'll communicate every day, and we'll never stop fighting for us. Anne felt a lump form in her throat as she listened to his words. His unwavering faith in their relationship both comforting and terrifying. She leaned her head against his shoulder, seeking solace in his presence even as her heart ached with the uncertainty of their future. I want to believe you, Taehyung, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe that love can conquer all, but the thought of not having you by my side, it's tearing me apart. Taehyung wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her closer to him in a gentle embrace. I understand, Ryan, he said softly. I feel the same way, but we have to trust in each other, in our love. We have overcome challenges before and we can do it again. As they sat together in the fading light of the sunset, the weight of their impending separation hung heavy in the air. Ryan closed her eyes, willing herself to find strength in Taehyung's words. In the promise of a love that could endure any distance. She whispered, her voice filled with emotion. Taehyung turned to look at her, his gaze soft and filled with tenderness. He replied, his voice filled with conviction. I will carry your love with me wherever I go, and I will always come back to you. In that moment, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the darkness began to settle over the beach. Ryan found a glimmer of hope in Taehyung's unwavering reassurance. She knew that their journey ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges and uncertainties. But as long as they held on to each other, as long as they believed in their love, she knew they could weather any storm. And so, with a heavy heart but a newfound resolve, Ryan let Taehyung go, trusting in their love to guide them through the trials of a long distance relationship. 6 months had passed since Taehyung had left for his job in another country, and the strain of the long distance relationship was starting to take its toll on both him and Ryan. What had once been a promising start filled with hope, promises, and unwavering love had slowly begun to unravel as the reality of their separation set in. Vian sat at her desk, her fingers tapping anxiously on her phone as she waited for Taehyung's response to her last message. It had been hours since she had heard from him, and the knot of worry in her stomach grew tighter with each passing minute. She glanced at the clock, noting that it was well past the time he usually replied. Finally, a notification popped up on her screen and she eagerly opened the message. Only to see a pang of disappointment when she saw Taehyung's short, impersonal reply. Sorry, busy day at work, we'll talk later. It was the same excuse he had been using more and more frequently lately. Ryan's heart sank as she read the message, the distance between them suddenly feeling insurmountable. She knew that Taehyung's job was demanding, but the constant excuses and the lack of communication was starting to wear on her. She missed the days when they would talk for hours, sharing their hope and dreams with each other. As the days turned into weeks, Taehyung's replies became even more sporadic, his calls few and far between. Ryan tried to be understanding, reminding herself of his hectic work schedule and the time zone difference between them. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling of growing isolation and loneliness. One evening, after yet another missed call from Tae Hyung, Wayan couldn't hold back her frustration any longer. She dialed his number, her heart pounding in her chest as she waited for him to pick up. Hello? Tae Hyung's voice sounded tired and distant through the phone. Taehyung, it's me, Vian said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the rising emotions within her. We need to talk. There was a pause on the other hand of the line before Taehyung responded. Vian, I'm really sorry about not being able to talk as much lately. Work has been crazy and I've been swamped with deadlines. Vian felt a surge of frustration bubble up inside her. I understand that, Taehyung. But it feels like we're drifting apart. I miss you and I need more than just excuses. Taehyung let out a sigh. I know, Ryan. I miss you too. Believe me. It's just, it's been so hard to balance everything. I'm trying my best. Ryan could hear the exhaustion in his voice, but she couldn't suppress the hurt that gnawed at her heart. Trying your best isn't enough, Taehyung. I need you to be present in this relationship, to make an effort to stay connected with me. There was a heavy silence between them, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the fresh air. Finally, Taehyung felt the dam of his emotions break. Ryan, I'm doing everything I can here, Taehyung said, his voice edged with frustration. I'm working long hours trying to make this work, and all you do is complain about how I'm not doing enough. Ryan's breath caught in her throat as his words, the sting of his accusation cutting deep. I'm not complaining, Taehyung. I'm just trying to express how I feel. I miss you and I need more from you than just empty promises. Taehyung let out a frustrated sigh, running a hand through his hair in agitation. What do you want from me, Ryan? I'm doing my best here. Can't you see that? Ryan felt the tears swelling up in her eyes, her voice trembling as she spoke. I just want us to be connected, Taehyung. I want to feel like we're in this together despite the distance between us. But lately, it feels like you're slipping away from me. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken words, the tension between them palpable even though the phone line. Taehyung struggled to find the right words to say to express the turmoil of emotions swirling inside him. Finally, he spoke, his voice strained with emotions. I'm trying, Ryan. I really am. But it's hard being so far away from you, from everything I know. I feel like I'm losing myself in this new life and I don't know how to balance it all. Ryan's heart ached at his words, the raw vulnerability in his voice breaking down her defenses. Him, I understand that this time is difficult for you, but we can't keep ignoring the problems between us. We need to find a way to communicate better to make this work. But Taehyung's frustration boiled over, his tone growing sharper as he spoke. What do you expect from me, Ryan? Drop everything and come back to you? Is that what you want? Ryan felt a surge of anger rising within her at his words, his frustration spilling out in a rush. No, Taehyung, that's not what I want. I want us to be on the same page, to feel like we are in this together. But if you can't even make an effort to talk to me, then what's the point? The words hung heavy between them, the truth of their situation laid bare in the harsh light of their argument. Taehyung's breathing was dragged on the other end of the line, his own emotions threatening to overwhelm him. I don't know what to do, Ryan, Taehyung admitted, his voice cracking with emotions. But I feel like I'm failing you. I don't know how to fix this. Ryan's heart ached at his words, the pain of their fractured this relationship cutting deep. But love alone isn't enough to sustain us. We need more than just words. We need actions. The silence that followed was deafening, the weight of their unspoken fears and doubts hanging heavy in the air. And as they sat on the opposite ends of the phone line, thousands of miles apart but emotionally closer than ever, they both knew that their relationship was teetering on the edge of collapse. In the following days, their conversations grew strained and distant, their attempts at reconciliation falling short in the face of their mounting frustration and insecurities. And as they struggled to find common ground in their once unbreakable bond, they both knew that their love alone might not be enough to save them. And so, as the days turned into weeks and their connection continued to fray at the seams, Taehyung and Ryan found themselves facing a crossroad in their relationship. A choice lay before them to fight for what they once had or to let go and move on from a love that had once burned bright but now flickered out of the face of distance and time. And as they stood on the precipice of uncertainty, unsure of what lay ahead for them, they both knew that whatever path they chose would shape the course of their lives forevermore.